This just in, and it's notable. The State Department has released a report on its investigation into the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The findings are damning. It's a 28-point report here. Our Kylie Atwood has been going through it. And Kylie, a few things stand out to me, and I'm sure several stand out to you. One, from the very first point, insufficient senior level consideration of worst case scenarios. It notes that some officials questioned the decision making leading up to this. It notes that the handing over Bagram Air Base basically funneled everybody trying to leave the country to Hong Kong, to Hamid Karzai International Airport, listing throughout a number of failures in the preparation.
Yeah, it's a really damning report, Jim, and I think it's important to note to folks that it covers the time period of January of 2020 when President Trump was in office, and there was that agreement struck between the U.S. and the Taliban, which really paved the way for the United States to repair withdrawing from the country, and it covers through August of 2021, which is when the Biden administration was carrying out the actual withdrawal itself. And there is, as you actually noted, that one finding that is at the top of these findings that I think really crystallizes what this report gets into. And it says, quote, that there were decisions beyond the scope of this review, but the team found that during both administrations, the Biden administration and the Trump administration, there was insufficient senior level consideration of worst case scenarios and how quickly those might follow. Now, what's clear as you read through this report is that there wasn't great organization or delineation of responsibility in this building at the State Department. One of the things that they point out is that there wasn't someone on the 7th floor here in the building dealing with crisis management for this. And the 7th floor is where the Secretary of State sits. There also wasn't a task force that was set up early enough to bring folks to the table to discuss what could be these crisis scenarios that they would face as they were preparing for the withdrawal. And when you had the Pentagon standing up that non-combatant evacuation operation, there wasn't a clear person at the State Department who was coordinating with that Pentagon effort, and so that created confusion as well, according to this report. So there's quite a few things that the department didn't do that this report really gets into that are significant, and it also makes recommendations for how this department can better prepare for crises going forward, like getting the operations center here at the department up and running, fully staffed, so it can really be the central focal point for where that crisis management lies.
What does it say, if anything, Kylie, about the Abbey Gate attack? In the final days, of course, there were 13 U.S. service members, and let's not forget 170 Afghans who were there waiting, trying to escape HKIA, and they were killed in that terrorist attack at the airport.
What the report says is that situation displays how dangerous the situation actually was on the ground. What it doesn't do is dig into any decisions that were made in this department that could have potentially prevented that terrorist attack, as you said, killing 13 American service members and more than 150 Afghans. Anything that this department could have done to prevent that from occurring. I think you'll hear folks in this building probably point the finger at the intelligence community or at the Department of Defense regarding decision making surrounding that. But it does paint a picture of a very, very tenuous situation at the airport, which of course created the environment that allowed that ISIS attack to actually happen.
We also should note the timing of the release of this report is significant. It's a Friday afternoon before a long holiday weekend. Kylie, what are your sources in the State Department saying about the findings of this report?
Well, listen, this is something that I pressed State Department officials on when we had a call on this earlier today, because, you know, it's lost on no one that this report not only is rolled out on a Friday before a holiday weekend, but it's also being rolled out more than a year after the report itself was concluded. So they've, you know, waited more than a year to roll out these findings. They're waiting until a Friday before 4th of July. What the senior State Department official said on that call is that they weren't going to get into process-related questions, but clearly folks in this building see that timing, and they're concerned about them trying to, really hide the fact that the department doesn't want all of its failures with this withdrawal really dragged through Washington and set up at a moment when Congress is in session. They might face more criticism.
We should also note that SIVs, special immigrant visas, have also been a key issue. And by the way, continuing one, because there are many thousands of Afghans who served bravely along the side of U.S. forces who are still there. I've been in touch with some of them. It addresses that here. It says that there was a backlog prior, that they've made an effort to accelerate the process. But the fact is, here we are 2 years later, and there are still many people left behind.
Many.
Yeah.
It is still an ongoing issue. Kylie, I would thank you so much for walking us through the details of the scathing report